Um, those of you that haven't attended one of my sessions before, I'll just kind of introduce myself. As Mariana said, I'm Dave Dunphy. I first became interested in meditation in the early 80s after graduating from college and moving out to San Diego, California. And I began to express that interest in meditation by reading about it. And after doing that for about 6 months, I understandably became a bit frustrated because, as I've said before on other sessions, you don't learn about meditation by reading about it. So I was fortunate to come upon Sahaja meditation and my first foray into actually trying to learn how to meditate. And fortunately, within a period of weeks after beginning, I had an experience that my rationality could not deny or explain. And I've been practicing it ever since, now, more than 30 odd years. So it's been a wonderful journey, always constantly growing and changing. And I hope to share all of that with you tonight and ongoing on Sahaja Online. What we'd like to find out just at the very outset is why you all have come, and if in particular you've been here before. Because if you're a first-time practitioner, we want to know so we can kind of tailor the program to an introduction. And if you're not, and you've been through that process before, then we'll kind of do something a little bit more advanced. So we're going to conduct a quick poll. And just if you could please respond to this so that we can tailor tonight's session accordingly. So we want to know, how many meditations you've attended online, if you're a regular, how often you're meditating at home, and what basically you want to meditate for. What are your goals for meditating with us on Sahaja Online? So we'll kind of collect the results of this poll. And how you heard about us, and then we'll summarize those, and then we'll tailor tonight's session accordingly. So we'll just wait for those results to come in, and I think Mariana's collecting those. So it looks like we do have a couple of beginning folks at least. So the 25% of our attendees are here for the first time. Those that do meditate are doing so daily, which is great. And there are various reasons: physical relaxation, improved mental health, personality development, and higher awareness and spirituality. Most of the attendees are after, and most of you found us online, which is not surprising because that's where we live. Okay, so that's great. We'll go ahead and kind of do a blended program tonight. So let's start off by talking about what the word Sahaja means. Basically, it means spontaneous or inbuilt. And this implies that the ability to meditate is innate and that we simply have to awaken something that we already have. This practice was first developed by Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi, the founder, and this is now practiced in over 90 countries worldwide. She first brought this practice out in the early 70s, and it's been growing ever since. And we are now offering it regularly on this online portal. So it means that this inner instrument, there is an inner instrument within us, which when awakened actually brings about the state of meditation. And to kind of familiarize ourselves a little bit with what this instrument is like and what it does, we're going to play a very short video clip that shows it graphically. And shows how this inner energy moves.
The Kundalini energy is a primordial energy, the source of all energy. Energy flows throughout your body via 3 main vertical energy channels, or nadis, flowing through 7 primary energy centers, or chakras, which are located at the sites of your main nerve plexuses, or networks of interlaced nerves. The energy rises up through your spinal column, flowing upward through the 6 energy centers above the sacrum bone. The second energy center, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and finally, the 7th crown energy center. As the subtle energy pierces through the top of your head, it unites your individual consciousness with the universal consciousness.
So as we saw from the video clip, this inner energy awakens. It lies at the base of the spine and it awakens and rises all along a subtle channel that corresponds roughly to our spinal cord. And then it emits from what is described as the fontanelle area of the brain, which in little babies is that soft spot at the top of the head, where the 3 plates of the brain come together. This is where this inner energy, called as the Kundalini, actually emits. And there's a couple of ways that we can verify that this has in fact happened. One is that we begin to feel on our palms, on our fingertips, a subtle flow of energy that, for lack of a better term, we could call a cool breeze. And this energy has been described in many ancient cultures. Some called it ru, some called it, and the Latins called it anima, the Greeks called it pneuma. In ancient Hawaii, it's called as mana. But no matter what name we give it, it's describing the same living and integrative energy that we see the results of outside in the change of seasons, the growth of plants, all the living processes, but we've never really felt on our central nervous system. So when this inner energy awakens, we begin to feel these vibrations, this pneuma, this anima, on our hands. And this is one way that we know that that energy has in fact awakened. Perhaps more importantly, we begin to experience the state of thoughtless awareness, which the founder, Sri Mataji, described as singular and a byproduct of an inner happening. So when this inner energy awakens and it reaches the fontanelle area and emits, we begin to spontaneously and effortlessly experience the state of thoughtless awareness. Now, this is not a state that is induced by repetition of phrases or visualization or any other technique, quote unquote, and an application of effort, but it is very spontaneously happens through the awakening of our inner energy. So what we'd like to do is try that tonight in our session and have a meditation session. And what we're going to do to facilitate that is to go through a process whereby we give energy to certain subtle centers or chakras within the subtle system to facilitate the awakening of this inner energy. And this is really something that we do primarily just the first time when we're trying to learn to meditate, because once this inner energy awakens, it is quite easy to awaken it again each time we sit and meditate. So let's advance to the next slide, and we're going to watch a brief clip that will show us how this works, and because our eyes are going to be closed when we're meditating, where we're going to be putting our hands in order to facilitate the flow of this energy. So, and there will be certain, we could say, affirmations that we will say that correspond to the subtle qualities of the chakras that we're attempting to nourish by giving this energy that flows through everything through our hands to those individual centers. So let's go ahead and play that short clip, Mariana, and show people what we'll be doing.
To begin, sit comfortably on a chair or on the ground with your back straight and your hands on your lap, palms up. Close your eyes and relax. Then repeat each of the following affirmations until you feel peaceful and ready to move on. Ideally, you'll spend about 30 seconds on each of the affirmations, saying them slowly, genuinely feeling the desire and meaning they represent. First, place your right palm over your heart and quietly say, either to yourself or aloud, "Am I the Spirit?" Next, place your right palm on your lower left side, just above your hip, and say, "I want to have pure knowledge." Move your right palm up until it's just below your ribcage and say, "I am my own master." Place your right palm over your heart and say, "I am the Spirit." Place your right palm on your left shoulder where it meets your neck and say, "I am not guilty." In this moment, it's important to leave behind any regrets or feelings of guilt you've been holding on to throughout your life. Place your right palm across your forehead, lower your head slightly, and say, "I forgive everyone, including myself." In this moment, you must forgive, forget, and let go of painful events that have troubled you in the past. Finally, put your right palm on the crown of your head, with the center of your palm maintaining firm contact with your head. Now, rotate your hand slowly in a clockwise direction, and as you rotate your hand, say, "Please let me have my self-realization." Sit quietly for approximately 5 to 10 minutes, without trying, without effort. Notice the silence. Notice how your thoughts have calmed. If a thought does pop into your mind, simply let it rise and fall away. Should you find it difficult to raise your inner energy alone, help is always available on this website.
All right, so now what we'd like to do is see if we can actually awaken this inner energy and bring about the establishment of the state of thoughtless awareness. And in order to do this, we want to make sure that we're sitting very comfortably, that we don't have anything that's binding or too tight. If you have your collar buttoned all the way up and it's tight, loosen it. If you have glasses on, you might take them off and set them aside. And just make yourself very comfortable so that there's nothing distracting you from being able to turn fully within. Also, I want to say that on an ongoing basis, meditation is in fact very effortless. Just by the fact of opening our palms and placing them on our laps, as we're going to do, is essentially opening ourselves to God's grace. So in a way, we are opening ourselves to something beyond and asking to merge with it. It's not like going to the gym and doing push-ups. This is something where we're really opening ourselves to something beyond and asking that we become one with that. So we're going to have our palms open and on our laps, and we'll have our eyes closed. So I'm going to ask you to basically have your left hand pretty much static and sitting open and on your lap. And we're going to be using the right hand to nourish certain of these subtle centers, primarily on the left side, because that is the channel of our desire within us. And we're expressing our desire to be able to go into the state of meditation. And so we'll go through that process of putting our hands on various of the centers. And we may linger on some longer than others in order to establish that flow of energy and to let that center to open a little bit more. So, it may be shorter on some, longer on others, because this is really based on the flow of the energy and not some prescriptive practice. And we should also know that after we've gone through this process and we try to feel that energy flowing from the top of our heads, then I'm going to ask us all to try to settle into a meditative state. We're going to meditate for 5 minutes or so with music, and then we're going to let the music fade out, and we're going to meditate in silence. And when we get to that stage where things are silent, we should know that there is no real effort for us to make. If we're having thoughts coming, we should just watch our thoughts, and by witnessing that we are having them, they will eventually stop and ebb off. So meditation actually begins when we achieve that state of thoughtless awareness. And that is, in fact, when we grow spiritually, after thoughtless awareness and not before. So that's what we want to try to achieve in today's session. So let's go ahead and close our eyes and place our palms open and on our laps. And then we'll begin by taking the right hand and placing the palm over our hearts. And just within ourselves, let's ask the question, am I the spirit? Am I more than this ego, these conditionings, these thoughts? Am I the spirit? Now let's take the right hand and bring it down to the lower portion of our abdomen on the left-hand side. And if we are to begin to access the pure knowledge, that knowledge that comes from within, we need to move from the relative realm of our thoughts to the absolute. So here, let's just ask the question, please give me the pure knowledge, the knowledge from within. Now let's raise the palm of the right hand to the upper portion of our abdomen on the left-hand side. And if we begin to access the pure knowledge, the knowledge that comes from within, we can begin to attain mastery over ourselves. So just within ourselves, let's ask the question, or actually let's assert, I am my own master. This means that we can begin to establish mastery over these thoughts and emotions and move into the realm of the absolute. I am my own master. Now let's raise the right hand to the heart. And here, if we've been able to, through meditation, begin to establish some mastery over ourselves, over our thoughts, over our emotions, then we can begin to enter the realm of the spirit, that aspect of ourselves that is a witness. So now we will assert within ourselves, I am the Spirit. So just say this within yourselves. I am the Spirit. Now let's raise the right hand to the juncture of the neck and shoulder on the left-hand side. And just turn our head slightly to the right. And if we have begun to, through our meditation, connect with the Spirit, that part of ourselves that is absolute, then the past or the future does not exist. We reside in the present moment. So we can't have guilt about the past because we're not in it. We're in the present. So at this center, we say within ourselves, I am not guilty. Just say this within yourselves. I am not guilty. Now let's take the right hand and raise it to the forehead. And we'll just tilt our head slightly forward as if cradling our forehead in our hands. And at this center, without thinking of who or why, just say within ourselves, I forgive everyone, including myself. Now let's take the palm of the hand and place it at the top of the head, at the crown, and press it slightly, and we'll stretch the fingers back. And just within ourselves, because we must ask for it in our own freedom, just say, please give me my self-realization. Or if you have it, please deepen my self-realization. Now let's take the palm of the right hand and just raise it about 6 inches above the top of our heads, and see if we can feel a subtle flow of cool breeze, that energy that so many cultures have described, flowing from the top of our own heads. Now let's take the right hand and place it, the palm open and facing upwards again on our laps. And let's take the left hand and raise that about 6 inches above the top of our heads and see if we can feel that cool breeze coming from within. All right, now let's place our left hand back on the lap, open and facing up. And now we will try to settle into that state of thoughtless awareness. And after the music stops, we're going to sit for a little while longer in a silent state to see if we can deepen it. All right, now we can just slowly open our eyes. So hopefully you all have been able to feel either subtle flow of energy upon the hands or emanating from the top of the head when we checked earlier. When we first awaken the inner energy, which lies below the sacrum bone, as you see in this chart here, a few strands of what is actually like a thick rope of energy rise and pass through a subtle channel that roughly corresponds to the spinal cord, and then emit from the fontanelle area. And that's enough for us to experience the beginnings of the state of thoughtless awareness, which hopefully I think most of you were able to feel. The energy was quite flowing quite well this evening. So hopefully you were able to feel it. And what you do on an ongoing basis from today is to set aside a short time of each day to actually meditate on your own, because it won't work, at least for tangible progress, to do it only online once a week or a couple of times a week. It's really much better to create those conditions that allow meditation to occur on a daily basis. Sri Mataji used to always say that really the best time to meditate is in the early morning, because this is when the divine rays come in, even before the sun comes up, because that's the energy that wakes up the world. And there's less static, we could say, in the environment at that time. Of course, any time is a good time to meditate, but there are times when it's more conducive to being effortless than others. So in the morning, right when you wake up, before you get wound up and start thinking and getting yourself into the mode of an active day, is a very good time before all the energy of the left channel or the right channel that you see on this chart are too active. Another very good time is right before you go to sleep, so that whatever you've accumulated during the day can be emptied out through the process of meditation and attaining the state of thoughtless awareness. So I hope you all will try this on your own. And it's a good idea to set aside a place in your own home that's quiet, that you do this on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be a whole room. It can be just a corner of a room that you go to regularly, where you can establish this energy that is supportive of this process and will make it as effortless as it really is. So thank you all for attending tonight. If you have any questions, we can open it up for any Q&A, and we'll just pause here for a minute to see if there are any. And well, it looks like that we don't have any questions, but thank you to those that have expressed your enjoyment of tonight's session, and we look forward to seeing you all on the next session of Sahaja Online. Thanks for coming tonight.